Hi folks, John from Designed Elegance Pastry Shop here. How you doing? Hope you're well. I am. So for today's lesson, we are going to make 1-2-3 dough. 1-2-3 dough is a code. It's a shard dough that we're going to use. We're going to end up mixing this dough so that we can make different tartlets. We're going to make tart shells so that we can make little coconut cream tarts. We'll make some little pecan tarts. We'll make some fruit tarts, some strawberry cream tarts, raspberry tarts, whatever kind of tarts we want. They're all going to come out of this one basic dough that we're going to start with. This is also a great dough to make, like if you wanted to make like a big flan or a big tart. They don't have to be individuals. So that being said, we're going to gather up our ingredients, and we'll be back in just a moment to get started. Hold on 1 minute, please. Welcome back, folks. Thank you for holding on. Okay, so for getting started with our 1-2-3 dough, what we're going to do is we're going to use the KitchenAid mixer with the paddle. This is dough that needs to be creamed, and it's going to take a little bit of work, so we're not going to want to do this one by hand. So let's start with taking 1 pound of butter. I'm going to use salted butter, as I normally do. If you're using unsalted butter, just make sure that you add about a teaspoon of salt in with your flour when you go to make your mix. Okay, so that's 2. Now I've softened this butter to room temperature, but I was very careful not to let it melt and separate. We don't want that. Okay, so we have 1 pound of butter. Now, we're going to use 1 full cup of granulated sugar. Now, 1 full cup of granulated sugar is pretty much equal to a half a pound of sugar. Okay, there's basically about 8 ounces of sugar in a cup. Okay, so there's a half a pound. So, see where we're going with this name for the dough. 1, 2, 3. You got 1/2 pound of sugar, 1 full pound of butter, and we're going to have 3 eggs go in, and then we're going to have 1.5 cups of flour go in, which is almost 5 cups. So those are the ingredients. We are going to add a little bit of vanilla to the mix, of course, and I like to add, to make it just a little bit extra special, just a weeny little pinch of nutmeg. That's just to give it a little pop. Okay, so I have my sugar, I have my butter, and I have just a touch of nutmeg in the bowl. We're going to turn the mixer on nice and slow. We'll let it cream together. It's going to take just a moment. What we want is for all the sugar to dissolve into the butter so that the creaming process can begin. Turning it up now that I'm not worried about anything flying out of the bowl. Now you can safely turn the mixer up a little bit. We don't want to go poof, of course. Okay, so now if you'll notice, the butter is pretty much absorbing all the sugar. You can see down into the bottom here where you have that space in the bottom where there's no sugar. See, because there's no sugar in the bottom, it's all into the butter, which means that now we can scrape. Okay. And we want to make sure that we scrape everything here off the paddle, and then we want to scrape all the sides of the bowl. Make sure that everything is down in the bottom. We want everything to be consistent before we start adding our eggs. Okay. Notice I'm not pulverizing it. I'm just mixing it nice and slow so that it's not, you don't want it to break down, so to speak. Okay, so now turn the mixer back on. And it's only going to take a second for this to completely smooth out. While we're letting that happen, I'm going to go ahead and add just a quick little shot of vanilla extract. And that's good right there. Okay. Now, we're going to use 3 eggs, 3 whole eggs. We're going to put them in one at a time. We're going to let them completely mix in before we add the next one. Okay, so there's one. Get this next one ready here. Okay. Got a big ball of dough all on the paddle. We want that to break free and start mixing around. And there it goes. Now we're ready for the next one.
Hey, John.
Yes.
I think I know somebody that would actually attempt this by hand.
Who?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, well, he's about the guy that could do it.
Yeah.
I guess if you had your butter really, really soft, it wouldn't be so difficult, but still. Okay, so now I see this big lump here that's stuck. I want to get that off of there. And that's all I need to do there. We'll let it keep going. Okay, now it looks a little choppy, kind of like cottage cheese, so to speak. That's because the egg hasn't fully incorporated into the butter sugar mixture yet, but it will. It should become smooth. And it's starting to smooth out now. Add a little bit more speed. Okay. Also notice how caked up it is around the edge of the bowl. Okay. That means that it's time to scrape. Okay. And as you can see, what I'm scraping away from the bowl is a lot stiffer than what's in the center of the bowl, and that means that there's not much egg incorporated into it. So by bringing it all down again, this kind of thing where you want to be patient. Okay, the more gradual your mix is, when you're creaming any kind of dough, the more gradual your mix is, the better it's going to be. Okay, so we'll just let it go a little bit more. Once that smooths out a little bit, then I'll add this last egg, and then we'll be looking pretty good for our flour after that. See how it's starting to smooth in? Basically, it's pulling away from the side of the bowl, and it's becoming one big mass. Okay, and I think that's pretty much good enough. We'll add that last egg. Okay, so now to review, we have 1 cup of sugar, we have 1 pound of butter, and then we have 3 eggs, shot of vanilla, shot of nutmeg so far. Okay, now this is mixing in beautiful. Okay, I do think that it would be wise to stop it and give it another scrape. And at this point, I'm going to actually use my finger here to get all of this good stuff off of the top of the paddle. Okay, very, very important. Okay. And now, once that's done, I'm not worried about the bottom of the paddle because that's just mixing in with the mix. Okay, so now we'll just give it another scrape. Make sure we get down to the bottom of the bowl. And there we go. Okay. We'll give it another little quick mix. We'll smooth it out a bit. And now what I need is 1.5 pounds of all-purpose flour. So I earlier I measured out 1.5 pounds, and I discovered that it ended up being about 4.5 cups of flour. So basically the general rule of thumb I go by is 1 cup of flour is probably going to be about 5 ounces, maybe 5.5 ounces, depending on how packed or heavy it is. But typically speaking, you want to figure 5 to 5.5 ounces of flour for a cup, as opposed to 8 ounces for granulated sugar. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and add this all at once. Like I said, it's 1.5 pounds, which is about 4.5 cups of sugar, or flour rather. Okay. And now, it's very important that we just jog the mixer at this point, because we have a lot of flour and we have a big ball of fat in the bottom. We don't want that. So let's just real gradually, we'll jog the mixer a little at a time. And then once it's incorporated in enough to where, see how it's starting to look choppy on the top? Yeah, it's not really going to explode now. So, and now the mixer is working. Okay, you hear that mixer? That's working. Okay, so we'll give it a little more juice. Okay, and now what we want to do is, before it all comes together, we want to just give it one last final scrape. Okay, I'm getting all the way down to the bottom, and I'm actually going to bring that up to the top. Okay, you'll see what I mean in a minute. Okay, got to make sure you go all the way around, and then basically grab this ball here. This is what I like to do. Okay, I grab the ball, and then I put the paddle down, start it for a second, and then I add this back in. Okay, and the idea is to not stress the mixer with the whole mix all at once. Okay, a little bit is fine, but you don't want to kill your mixer. Okay, this, my friends, is a beautiful, smooth dough. It's not like a pie dough. Pie dough would be, more fat-based. And it's not like butter cookie. Butter cookie has got a lot more flour in it. But this is a very nice sourdough, and when it bakes, it's got a wonderful flavor. It's not overly sweet, which means that it's not going to sizzle in the pan. It's going to retain its bready type of content, so to speak. But what we're going to do now is we just want to chill this dough so that we can then roll it out, and we're actually going to roll it out a lot like making cutout cookies, but we're going to roll a little thinner than that. So, all right, let's take this off of here, and I have a pen prepared here with the paper on it. Okay, what I want to do now is just, as if I were doing like a pie dough or a cookie dough, I'm just going to sprinkle a little flour on the pan. Okay, we're going to dig the dough out. Okay. Now I have a scraper here. Makes the job a little easier. So we'll scrape all this out. Like so. See, basically you don't want much left in. Set that all on top. Okay. It's over here for now. All right, so now we have this beautiful dough that we're going to chill. Okay, I'm flattening it out like this because I'm saving myself some work on the rolling here, okay? This gets a little stiff to roll. Rather than starting with a big ball that's like a baseball, okay, I'm going to start with a semi-flat piece that's already ready to go. Okay, so that's why I press it down like so, okay, and, you don't have to be neat about it, but basically by making it thinner, number one, it's going to chill a lot quicker, and number two, like I said, it's going to be a lot easier to roll later on. So give us a few minutes. We're going to chill this down, and we'll be back shortly.